What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Tim Elson with DragBoss Garage. Welcome back to a live chat with Sam Auxier Jr. So it's been a while since I've done a live chat, and welcome, Sam. Let me do a little housekeeping, and then I'll kind of bring you in.
Go right ahead.
It's going to be a great conversation. There's already a couple people here. Rotor 22, good evening to you. So one of the questions, or the way I wanted to do this, Sam, was you did a live chat with Andy Wood of Unity Motorsports Garage. It was great. I listened to it. I enjoyed it. It was your history of how you came up from watching guys working in a gas station to, seeing that AFX car and the crashing of the trailer, a whole history. And I don't want to delve into that because he's kind of got that cut down. Right. What I wanted to do was go through a few of your basic engines that you were very familiar with, that you raced, get some questions on how they ran and that kind of thing. And then really, I'm a Cleveland maniac. So I really would like to get into talking about the Pro Stock Cleveland, which you raced, which is a picture of that Pinto that's on this post for this video. So
let's get into
it. There's about 13 people here, so let's get going.
All right.
I got a question for the guy. His name is Bill Fiorenti. Hey, Bill, here you are. Mostly Mustangs Inc.
All right.
Yep. And that's in Camden, Connecticut. Okay. So he has a Mustang restoration shop. Hi, Michael Thompson. And I'll tell you, the guy has a lot of racing experience. He's restored and had Boss 429 Mustang 70 versions, Boss 351. He bought a brand new 69 Mach 1 back in the day. He's kind of a Boss 429 aficionado, kind of like yourself. I mean, the motor got a bad rap, and Andy talked about it, why it was so misunderstood, because they choked that thing up. It couldn't breathe. It couldn't run on the street. So in your opinion, with your vast experience, what do you think do you think the Boss 429 redeemed itself now, years later, in retrospect?
Here's the way I look at it. It's taken a lot of changes to make it work. The gray hair right here is part of that 429 Boss. Yeah. So anyway, it was when it first came out, we first got the car, it was a nightmare. I mean, we did everything in its state, changed cams, changed pistons, changed everything, carburetors, the whole 9 yards. It did nothing to improve it. So what it came down to is we, at that time, I mean, we couldn't be Ford Motors Company's guinea pig. So, and I know, later on with the right cylinder heads, that in the right cams, and that it could be done. And there's plenty of people that showed it's been able to do that. So I don't have anything negative about the engine. Every engine goes through its trials and errors of development. So, it has developed today. I mean, Kazi has plenty of experience in it. And so I don't have any negative thing to say about it, I know a lot of people do. And I know when we start, it just happens that way. There we go.
Now there's Andy right there.
There you go. Hey, how you doing, Andy?
I like this one from Robert Tolliver. What a great name for my youth. I'm glad to hear Sam's still racing and with Fords, baby. Hell yeah.
There you go.
So
yeah. So anyway, we didn't stay a long time with it because we raced for Ford, and Ford wants you to win. So you got to go with what you got to make it work. So that's it was short-lived for our experience.
Like what, a year? You raced it a year, a season?
Just a year. That's all. Yep. And we raced it along with the other cars, with the Pro Stock cars. So it was a mixed bag of worms for us because time. It just took time for development work, and it just unfortunately we ran out of time with it, and so we had to go on to the next thing. And whenever you're doing that for a living, you can't afford to run last there all the time. So anyway,
how fast was that thing running? 1030s?
Oh gosh, you're stretching me on that one. I want to say 1080s.
1080s?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, it was.
My stock Cleveland would run that.
like I said, we didn't do anything with it, and I mean, we did everything internally, changed all the stuff, and it ran the same ET and the same mile an hour. So I, I don't have any, I don't have any magic wand on that one,
So what was it? What car was that in?
That was in the 70 Mustang,
Okay.
70 Boss Mustang. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful car. Car is still alive today. A friend of ours has it, and so it's still around.
I got a couple pictures of cars.
Not quite in the same shape, but
oh yeah,
and half the '69 Mustang that I had so much success with, that was a totally different car, but totally different engine.
That was that car there, right?
Yep, that's it. Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that car had a ton of PR. That was a 427 tunnel port engine.
Yeah, that one.
Right. And that one was very successful with that. That one we won the Cars Magazine meet with in '69.
That's when you took out Ronnie Sox and Grumpy.
The whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
It was,
put the hammer down.
It was a day, So it was great. It's one of the biggest times of my life, really. And it was.
And this is the stuff.
Show.
And that's what I want to bring to these guys that are here now. I see Jimmy Huff. Welcome back, Jimmy. Michael Thompson. Robert Trollander. All these people. There's so many people. Ed McCann. Two Hacks Garage.
Yeah.
You guys want to eat this stuff up because you know what, Sam? They ain't making no more of this. And if we don't bring it up to the surface, it's going to get lost by the sands of time. And that's what I try to bring back. And I appreciate you taking the time to be here, my friend.
That's no problem. I enjoy bringing it back and bringing up the times that we had with it, and the success we had, and and some of the failures we had. But overall, it was good, and Ford Motor Company helped us out as best they could. Nothing. They didn't hold anything back.
So they're giving you these bodies in white for these Mustangs, or are they already
body in white? Yeah.
Already with like a Boss 429 front end.
That was a Boss. That was a
your
full
70.
car. That was a full car. Yeah, 70.
Okay.
Yeah. The original story behind that is Ford wanted us to go to Kansas and run the big race out there.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute, Ford changed their mind. We don't want to do that. So there we go. How you doing?
That's John Wilborn.
Yeah.
And, he's with Dallas Brown with the AHRA. Now, you probably know about the No Name Nationals, and I'll throw a big shout out there. Andy's involved with it. A lot of guys. Uncle Tony's Garage. Unfortunately, my car is not going to be done. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But they're going to have this great race. To anybody that has a YouTube channel that has 500 subscribers can be qualified to go.
There you go.
It's going to be pretty cool. There's going to be a lot of great people there, and it reminds me of the old racing days that you were involved with.
Right.
We
had
computers and all the BS.
Exactly. We had a great success with several different the NASCAR deal, drag cars. Was very successful.
What's that? Now, you race NASCAR? You built engines? What?
Well, I raced NASCAR, yeah, and we actually used we had 3 cars in there.
Oh, I remember now. Yep.
The '64 Comet, the '65 Comet, those both AFX cars, and the '65 Mustang, which was originally Tasca's car, and then Tasca turned it back into Holman and Moody, and then Holman and Moody, Bondi Long took Holman and Moody, or got it from Holman and Moody, and then I wound up. Bondi put me in it for a year, quite successful with that car too, and that was a high riser. It was good. It was a good setup. I don't know. It's just one of when you get a car that works good, everything, suspension, and it all seems to flow easy then, but yeah. So you raced all the FE stuff, the cameras, the side oilers, all that kind of stuff. Right.
Did you think their valve train was problematic? The way the rockers are in line and the end shafts are weak and flex when you start getting spring pressures. How'd you deal with spring pressures?
How do we deal with it? We didn't use as much spring on a high riser.
Yeah.
or on a high riser. We didn't
Yep.
use as much spring pressure because it was floppy. I mean, the shaft and all moved. So, but it still made horsepower. Okay. The ball, or not the boss, but the tunnel port, that was another story. That was a completely different valve system. And that, most people don't know it, but the intake push rod went through the
Oh
intake
yeah.
port.
Through the
It
port.
had a
Yeah.
sleeve in there, and it actually, the port flowed great. And a lot of the sleeves, people were putting the egg-shaped sleeves in it, so the air flowed around the sleeve and worked great. And that car just with the tunnel port was great. It made horsepower,
Wow.
So and it
Now, would
was
you run those things about 75, 78 or higher?
no, those were 8,500
Wow.
easy. Yeah, yeah.
Now,
We
with that,
we would leave we would leave with it on the floor, So
yeah, no rev limiter back then, man. That
we
thing's
have the red lemon,
yeah.
and nobody, and I cannot, well, I can tell you what RPM we shifted at. I couldn't tell you, and I shifted by seat of my pants,
Wow. Yeah.
and that's just, I heard these guys come back. Oh, I shifted at 7,800. No, it was 7,850. And I'm going like, yeah. I can
Right.
tell you, anybody that come back and told you that wasn't running fast.
No.
If they had time to read all that.
Hell
Nah,
no, man.
no, not gonna happen. So
Here, I'll throw this question out because it's a good question. It might something you can expound on.
okay.
Sam, do you have a relationship still with some of the guys that were at Ford Engineering at the time? So obviously in the 70s.
At the time,
Roush, Gap,
I do. I have
Al Turner.
Al Turner. Unfortunately, Al died. I had
Yep.
a big relationship. He was a great guy. We used to get into it, but that's just that's just the way it is. But yeah, I haven't talked to Bruce Sizemore lately, but he was in the end with Ford deal. He was the guy that was the main guy for drag racing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So Bruce, I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. I did email him today.
Oh good.
See if
Tell him I'm waiting to hear from him.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, he'll get back.
We're gonna make that Pro Stock Pinot book. We're gonna reprint that.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yep.
that's
Proceeds to DBG. I got to write a forward to it, and we're gonna get back. And then he's a busy guy, and I said I ain't no hurry. It'll work out when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
We had a couple of Ford used to go through them guys pretty quick.
Which guys? The performance guys?
The performance guys on the track, or at the track, not on the track, but at the track. And they unfortunately Ford had them here one day and gone the next day. So you try to get as much comfort with them as you could.
Yeah. No, just go to Holman and Moddy. They'll give you whatever you want.
Right. You had to watch that story. And I don't know. I talked to Lee Holman back in the summer, but we were talking about Gerd. The guy's name was Gerd down there, and Ford would give us a number. We had like a sort of like a Social Security number.
Okay.
You did the number, and every Sunday night you had to call. You had to call into Ford, and unfortunately, I had a voice recorder that you could. You'd say I did this or I did that, or maybe we don't even want to talk about it. But but it was really fantastic. But Ford would say, call Holman and Moddy and tell them you want such and such a clutch or something, a part. And Gerd would get on there and he's, oh man, I just gave that. I got rid of that last one sitting here in the warehouse, And I know, damn good while he's lying, just piss you off so bad.
Well, they don't want to give away the last one.
Right. Yeah. So I'd call Ford back up and say, hey, this guy don't want to cut. Well, let me talk to him. I'll call him. They'd find one then. So
I mean, were you going there and taking your truck and getting like Boss 429 blocks, whatever, single overhead blocks.
We pick up
what do they
cameras, you
have?
know. That's what we pick up, you know. Everything else we got in pieces, you know, because
Yep.
the camera was unique. That was absolutely, and I know we're going to talk about the Cleveland, but the
Yeah, yeah.
camera was absolutely my favorite engine. I mean, it was the best all-time horsepower workhorse that I ever had,
Really?
and I worked uh, close with Nicholson,
Okay.
Don, and you know, there were some things he did, and that I thought, well, you know, it's great. Thank you for helping. You know, um, and I remember one time we got we needed a crankshaft right away, and so I said, Don, you got anything ready to go? You know, he said, well, I got one here, but he says it's Magnaflux with a crack. I said, well, where is the crack at? You know. And he says, I don't know. He said, I can't find the crack in the, in the crack. So I said, okay. So, okay, let's just try it. I said, we're in a pinch because there was a lot of machine work that had to be done for a steel 427 crank
Oh yeah. Whole
to,
snout.
with the
Yep.
widened rods and
Yep.
the different rod size for 392 uh, Chrysler rod. And so anyway, we got the crank and we said, well, you know, how are we going to check this thing? And we all said, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take it down to our dentist and put it on his x-ray machine. so,
What?
so we took it down to the dentist to put it on the x-ray machine.
Is that legal?
We could, you know, we couldn't find anything wrong with it, you know? So anyway, we went ahead and used it. So
Just stand
it's
6
great.
feet away. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
You
amazing.
know, crazy stories, you know, that never end.
It's like, you know, when you think about it, the guys that are on here, let me get back onto the chats kind of and see. But a lot of these people, they're probably in my age group. The guys that are really dying to hear this and want to see this stuff are the guys that are in their 40s, somewhere around that range, maybe
Yeah.
30s.
Right.
To what you said, you're 78, right?
78, yeah.
How the hell can you be 78, man, and doing all this stuff? It's crazy. You know,
Well,
thank God you got health and good hair.
yeah, I'm glad I do too, because my two brothers didn't have any hair, so I don't know where they got it from, you know, or didn't get it from. But yeah, it's something in the genes there.
Oh yeah, here's one from Jimmy Huff. Now he's a big Cleveland racer. He races all these crazy small displacement 342, 340 cubic inch Clevelands with
Oh yeah,
all high port stuff.
I don't
in
want
his
to say
wagon.
oddball, but
Oh,
stuff, you know.
it's a great car. But yeah, I think I have the intake for that Harold Dutton's drag hag for A3
Right.
sitting back there. It's a sheet metal. So yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Here's a question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
What's the fastest you have ever drove, if I might inquire? I know that driving a Plymouth Duster with a slant cylinder engine would make you feel like you were flying once you hit 100.
Yeah, that probably would. One of those. I think,
100. Huh.
you know, we ran like in the 150s.
Okay,
So, yeah, if that answers your question.
there it is.
Yeah. So, I tell you, in a Pinto going 150 is like like going 300 mile an hour.
Oh,
You
I
know?
bet it is. So low to the ground.
Oh my gosh, that thing is just. It would want to go sideways down in the lights. So, my brother would always say, can't you tell that's sideways down there in the lights? I said, no, I'm just trying to hang on. So,
Dang,
yeah,
man.
crazy. But
Let's see a comment here. This is Trunk Back Jim. What's up, man? Sadly, the last time I seen a camera out in public, it was parked next to a twin turbo Coyote Fairmount. No one even glanced at the faded paint 65 Galaxy holding a gem.
yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah.
there's a number of them out there with.
My old engine builder, Bob Beach, has one. He
Yeah.
just put a camera in. It's a 65 Galaxy. He's got to get stuff hooked up. Bad car, Bob.
Oh, it's amazing how many of them that are in people's garage and
Oh,
basement.
yeah.
I talked to a number of guys. They said, "Well, I bought one you know, when they were $600, $500, you know, whatever they were.
Well, you're taking a drink, guys. I'm going to give a big shout out to Warren Johnson. You probably heard of him, right, Sam?
Oh yeah, I think I heard of him before.
So I got a message from Jeffrey. I can't think of your last name, but he emailed me. And he emailed me yesterday and said that Warren Johnson was watching my video with Rusty Glidden that I did.
Oh yeah.
I said, you know what? I said, you ask Warren Johnson if he wants to come on here like you are. We'll talk history about his experience.
Yeah.
Bring more of his pro stock right up.
He'd have a lot of it.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Warren, big shout out to you. Kurt Johnson too. I heard you were watching my videos, so I can't wait to get you on here too.
Tell him you got to be 78 to qualify though.
You what?
You have to be 78 to qualify to be on the show.
Oh yeah, and I don't think he's 78. He's probably like 76.
Right. He's out. He doesn't count. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah. I went to him. Check this pitch out. This is 1999. That's Warren Johnson. He signed this card. Okay.
Yeah.
First to go 200 miles an hour. So I go up to him and I said, "Wow, Warren, my buddy's a big Olds fan. I love your cars. I love the '84 Hurst Olds. That was one of my favorites."
Right.
You know, and blah blah blah. And then I said, "But I'm a Ford guy and I love Cleveland's because I just moved to Columbus and was racing at National Trail where I saw him."
Right.
He looks at me like this and he goes, "Sorry about your luck," and then turned around and walked away. Just left me sitting there, my mouth hanging open. I wonder if he remembers that.
Yeah, right. He might. Yeah. So,
Warren Johnson is 79.
Is he 79?
Dang.
All right.
Better raise it or lower it.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, yeah. Jeez, that's fantastic.
How about this guy? I'm 77. Is that close enough?
Yeah, that'll make it.
Yeah.
We can't tell the difference.
So we've been talking now for about 22 minutes, and it's always a topic, and hopefully I'm not talking loud, but it's always like, well, how long are you going to talk? Is it going to be an hour show, 2 hours, 3 hours? You know, you really cannot tell.
You cannot.
But I'm going to try to, because I got a bunch of people coming on board in the future. I want to try to make it so we're not taxing you. You know, it's fun to talk for about an hour and a half. After that, it's like, unless you really got some communicating with the audience and there's lots of questions, I don't want to burn it out because I know you got a lot to say. So
no, I'm good to go. I know.
So we could even do it another part, do this part 2 if we decide to.
Whatever you want to do. Just
so
keep on firing the questions.
Here we go. Now we're going to the Cleveland. Now you started racing the Cleveland in that Pinto, which we had as a picture for the post. What year was this? There's the Pinto. That's like
that was 73.
Okay.
Yeah, 73. We had I was a Don Hardy dealer.
Yep.
For parts and all, and so there wasn't any reason to use anyone else but Don Hardy for a car. So Don, we contacted him, and I got him to build a car, and so we got that done, and of course, meanwhile, while he's building it, we're trying to put an engine together, and getting the high port heads because everybody used the high port head.
Sure.
And so, you know, that was 73, and we went ahead and got everything together, got some block, and got a familiar looking piece. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. Who is making those now? Are you making?
You know, this is actually a set of Jack Roush heads.
Oh yeah, Jack.
With a fin in them that has a fin in the port. And I'll tell you a little secret about the fin. I always thought it didn't do much, you know, but Darren Morgan told me that fin adds 15 foot-pounds right there.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know.
If you fill the heads, you fill the Cleveland 4-barrel head with a little port filler. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pick up 40 foot-pounds of torque with that change.
Wow.
Yeah.
We did not do that.
Okay.
So what we started with was plated heads, just like that, and they were matched and everything a mild setup would be.
Okay.
With the titanium valves in it, and that that worked well. I mean, we started out good, but we started out with 660 carburetors, and yeah, there you go.
There's a
So,
nice set of titanium Cleveland valves I just got for a spare.
how many you got in a box?
Right here's there. I got 8 for $300.
8 for $300.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got another. We'll get a
Oh,
little bit.
motorsport valves.
We'll get a little bit into this, and I'll tell you about them valves.
Oh, great.
So,
I've been using them, so they work.
yeah, right. They do work. Ford had run out. Ford had run out of valves, and this was like right around 70. I don't know, 2, 3, or whatever. 'Cause
Okay.
Ford was like really backing down on support. When they came, I was in Pomona in 1970, and in '69, Ford. I had contacted Ford because Mopar Chrysler had contacted us about switching to Mopars.
Okay.
So we call Ford, and I said, here's our issue. Chrysler's contacted us, and they're wanting us to switch over, and they go, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that. We got everything, we got you lined up for everything next year, the semi, the whole 9 yards. Well,
Wow.
we got all that stuff. So anyway, he convinces us that that's what's going to happen. So anyway, we built 2 new Mavericks. Okay, we take the one to Pomona, the one that was finished with the camera.
Okay.
We go out to Pomona. We're in the middle of the whole show, and I believe it was Bruce Sizemore come over, and he says, when this is over, he says, you go over to Bill Stropp's place, and you grab everything you can grab. He said, just take what you can get, clean it out. Of course, every other Ford guy was there too. So but anyway, we went over there, grabbed everything we could. But in the middle of that, here we had given up this other deal, but Chrysler had stopped too. So I guess it was a trade-off, but it really just pissed me off. But so was everybody else. But anyway, lucky to qualify out there. I mean, because Sox and Jenkins and those guys, they were used to the NHRA rules of. We were match racing, and we were running IHRA stuff,
Right.
and where it was a little. I don't want to say it wasn't as, but it was not like NHRA with all the restrictions they got on everything. So
Okay.
anyway, so we stuck with the Fords. We went out there, qualified. Me and Nicholson and Dick Laura were the only 3 Fords to qualify. And just to throw a little side thing in here, Ford or NHRA does not have, or I don't know if they ever got it, the final breakdown of Pro Stock for 1970 at Pomona. I had 2 of the NHRA guys call me and said, do you have a list or know how it came down the ladder? And I said, I've got one list. They said, no, that one's wrong. I said, well, I don't know, but I mean, so anyway, I think I finally got it from somebody that had it. I don't know who. It's hard to believe they wouldn't have the lineup of the first year Pro Stock before.
That's crazy.
It was wild. But anyway, they were, last I know, was trying to locate it. And I do believe they finally found somebody. They said my list was wrong, but hey, it didn't matter at that point, But anyway, so anyway, we come up to 1973, and we are putting our first Cleveland together. and we round up everything. I got a hold of Jack Roush and
Yep.
Wayne Gap, and tried to get everything I could, the good stuff, whatever you want to call it. And so we got one together, um, and then the car got there, and we did the whole 9 yards with the car. And so it, to begin with, it turned out okay, but uh, the engine, uh, we did not realize, but the engine just wanted, and we used Chevy rods. Um, Bad word, but we used Chevy rods.
6-inch Chevy rod, you're saying?
We didn't. We bought them blank and then
Yeah.
put the pinhole in them,
Okay.
and then the pistons, whatever we used at that time. But we took that particular one, and like I said, it ran okay, but uh, we were finding out that this engine really wanted carburetors and really wanted camshaft, and it was amazing to me, a small block wanting the big carburetors,
Well, yeah.
the Dominators, and wanted the. I mean, we had a camshaft that was almost 800 in lift.
Well, I
I
got
think
a picture of it.
yeah, I think I actually got the card there.
There it
I
is.
sent you. Yeah, there you go. And from Crane. Crane gave us everything. They always had and always did give us. They sponsored us. We had a great bunch of sponsors. I mean, it was.
I'm going to see if I can find that, and I can show you this. Do you remember the specs on that?
It was like $7.99, and the center line was.
There it is, right there.
There you go. That's the original card. So,
That's crazy.
yeah.
$7.99 lift at the valve.
Yep. At the valve.
So it's
And,
a 461 lobe, it looks like.
yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing, it's what the heck was it? Center line, I believe, come out at 108. I believe.
I don't see it here. You'd have to figure it out with the
Yeah, you'd have to calculate it on there, but I'm sure it was 108.
minimum RPM 5,500, maximum 96.
96. Yeah.
Or maybe it's $9,000 and valve float at 96. I don't know. I can't really tell.
Yeah, valve flow
valve
is
flow
96.
96.
Yeah, it was, it's a.
All right, let me get out of that thing.
It was a killer, I mean, first time we looked at it, and then of course valve springs. I mean, valve springs at that time and still today, same issue with valve springs. It just,
Oops, sorry.
8 or 9 runs, you need valve springs again. It'll lose it enough. At that time, it'd lose a tenth. As soon as you seen it lose a tenth, you knew better switch them.
Now you're doing it right at the track. Are you putting air in there?
No, we calculated out to where we could run before we got there. we'd make sure we could get enough runs not to do it at the track.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the camera, we I can remember doing that at the track, and we had a cylinder of a tank for the air.
Okay, so you pressurize the cylinder and hold the valve up.
Right. And
Yep.
I remember the last time we did it we were out in Texas at Texas Dragway, whatever it was in Dallas, and down to the last valve, and we got to pulling on it, and I just got ready to put the keepers in there, and it slipped. The handle slipped on there. God damn! I said, this thing is. We're going to drop these. They fell right in place, and the handle flew, and I was out of air at the same time. I couldn't believe it. All bang, 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 but it worked.
Damn.
So you never know at the track.
Wow.
Crap happens. So
here's a question that may go in and tie in what you're going to start explaining.
Okay.
Maybe you can comment on this from Jimmy Huff. What was your favorite born stroke on a Cleveland? Have a couple of D-stroke Cleveland cranks, 3.25, 3.300, 3.375, and a Hank the Crank forged match race 375 with 6 counterweights.
Wow.
And a partridge in a pear tree, Jimmy.
Well, we ran, believe it or not, we ran stock cranks,
Okay.
and we had to adjust the width on the journal. But
Yep.
yeah, we ran stock ones there. They were 3.5. So um, and 4. Now we had an aluminum block. And I may have brought this up before, but we had an aluminum block that we got from Smokey Eunuch, and
Yeah.
Smokey has this block, and it had pigeon crap all over it. God. So uh, I said, okay. He says, well, you send me 2,000 cash, and I'll ship it to you. I said, okay. So 2 grand. Okay. So we wound up getting that block. He had another one that another guy that I
Mhm.
knew bought the other one, and then we actually had purchased. My brother had gotten one that was steel block, and that's the Can-Am blocks that had the. Now it was a bastard sized bore, and terrible time getting rings to fit this engine. So we had it. I believe it was, I don't know what sticks in my mind, 4.139, and it was just, there wasn't any rings that made it. We got the closest ring we could, and here's what we did: we had to cut it down, the end gap.
Yeah.
But it's worried me that it was becoming egg shaped versus, you know. But we did it, and it worked. But it wasn't something that I was happy with on it. But that was all we had. So um, we hold on 1 second here.
Yep. Well, you're doing that. What's up, guys? John Elliott, how you doing? Hello, buddy. I'm here with the whole crew. As soon as I seen this, rounding everybody up. Welcome.
1 second.
Yep. Welcome, John, and everybody there watching. I forgot where you guys watch DragBoss Garage, but it's pretty cool. You saw that addition I put on. Now we can really get moving. Because what I had here, in order for me to do anything, I might be able to work on an engine, but then I got to put it all back away to get to the car. Just not enough room. So things are going to be better.
Hey, yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Minor noise.
Thanks, Andy.
I got some older kids, like my age. Okay, back. Where'd we finish at here?
Oh, yeah. So now the board, what you're talking about is an aluminum Cleveland block you bought from Smokey, and it had a full 139 bore.
Yeah, it was really an oddball bore. The whole block was oddball, but it was the bore screwed us up on pistons and the rings themselves. But anyway, and it also had 10 head bolts.
Right, I've seen
like
them.
Normal, and then 4 on top, 4 on the bottom.
If you want to add it to them, right?
18 of them.
Yep.
We did not use those. We just used the 10, just like a normal Cleveland block would be. But it was a bastard rear main seal. We had to make that part of it work, and it had what the heck else was it? Was goofy. Thank God the cranked center line and the cam center line were the same.
Oh,
it would have been a nightmare if it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got it to work, but it was just a difficult deal to make it work. Now, in all honesty, it did not run any better than a steel block ran.
Okay.
And the other thing that was sort of odd on it, and I don't know how many people, race guys, have run into this, but we always P&G'd on number 1 cylinder. Okay.
Right.
So if you take my numbers, if you take 4.139 and your 3.5 stroke, you will see it's about 375, 378 cubic inches, but it always P&G. As long as you did number one, it would always P&G 350. I don't know how, but it worked. So anyway, a little shady thing there, but hey, it worked. So we didn't say any different. Hey, you ran pound per cubic inch, so
That's right.
whatever it is, it is. So till I forget where we were. We were somewhere.
You can put styrofoam peanuts in there too, and it'll pump down just the right way, and they burn out when you take off.
We thought of a lot of things.
Yeah,
We've all thought of these creative things.
they're true too. People don't know.
That's the only way
tricks.
it's a tough business.
I know.
And you either
you starve or you win.
Yeah, right. If yesterday's dinner isn't any good, you need today's dinner.
Damn straight.
God. Let's see. On that engine also, I can trying to think. It did have 4-bolt mains, thank God.
But were they like the 312 size mains? Were they weren't the 2.75, were they? Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
They were Cleveland size mains. Yeah. There was something else goofy on it though.
What about oiling? Was this a dry sump motor, or were you using?
No, it was a wet sump. We ran it wet sump, and
lifter bore bushing.
All this. We restricted the oil to the top like everybody does.
Yep.
Nothing new there, but so by actually doing that, it just a matter of you don't need all that oil up top. You need it down below.
I agree.
But today's world, you do need a little more up top because as we discovered, the oil in the springs to keep them cool will help the life of your engine, or life of the spring, not necessarily the life of the engine.
Right.
So, and then the cam, we discovered, we need a lot of cam, but the carburetor to me was the biggest single thing that we actually did that just, made it work.
Needed what? Going with a bigger carb?
Dominators, yeah.
Yeah.
The 1050 Dominators just set sail with that. After all those things, it was, but we ran a steel block for a long time. It took a long time to get this aluminum block situated.
Yep.
So we couldn't be down that long. So
okay.
And even though we saved a lot of weight, it really didn't do as much. There wasn't worth the work on it, to tell you the truth, And it did explode, and I sold that block to a guy named Ricky Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was going to do with it.
Ricky Smith.
Yeah. So he bought the thing. I don't even know what we even got for it, But yeah. But it was a great engine, and the car, Hardy car. The other thing with Hardee's, we went to Gainesville with the car, and the 1 year went to Gainesville with it, and the wheelbase. Okay, the wheel. Greg Exacalis, he hated Fords. He worked for NHRA. He hated Fords. Oh, he despised them. So we get down there, and he says, measure the wheelbase. We measured the wheelbase. Wheelbase was right. Number one cylinder was in the right. Number one in line with the front axle. Number one, and but he said the rear axle and the back of the door. He says that's wrong. He says it's like 1.5 inches too short. He said, well, it should be longer. I said, well, how are we going to make it longer? He said, well, you take and run that Heim joint back on the traction bars, and you'll be able to pick it up. I said, hell no, I ain't be able to pick it up. I said, I'm not running that bar back on there. And, he just insisted and insisted. But if you got back and looked at the car, if you got 50 foot away from the car and looked at, you could see the whole front and back wheels were forward in the car. So,
Really?
yeah, I mean, it was really just,
Must have been a handful to drive.
oh, it was. Oh my gosh. My brother, my youngest brother, he's no longer with us, but he used to help me with the car, and he'd say, can't you see that you're sideways? Can't you feel it sideways down there in the lights? I said, no, I'm just hanging on. He said, well, I can almost read your name on the car standing at the start finish line.
Oh yeah.
But it was a handful. I mean, it was just a brutal piece.
So iron blocks, you're using iron blocks. What bore size? Do you remember?
We stayed with the stock bore size. We
4.
always stayed with, and we got that really from the FE blocks. FE blocks were thin.
Yeah.
And they were just, we would never bore an FE block. We wouldn't do it to clean it up, because so many of them would just split the wall on it. So the Cleveland block, we tried the same thing. We tried to not to, we may have had one that was 4.020 or something, but nothing crazy other than the aluminum block on there. But we did fine with the steel block, and we tried to get as good a one as we could get with as much nickel in as we could get.
Sure.
And so that they would have some stability in the block, because the FE block will walk around. I mean, it moves all over the place. So, but the Cleveland block, we did quite well. I think most of the parts, even though it was a smaller situation, it did have a lot of longevity in the engine. I didn't have, the top and the bottom end were both good. We didn't have that. You got to remember, we came from a Cammer. Okay, Cammer had everything for the top end and junk for the bottom end. I mean, we did everything we could for longevity in a Cammer, but reality is the crank, even we cut them down, but they still flexed. They still moved, and you could see that on the rods and the mains. You'd see the wear on the bearing would be one-sided,
Yeah.
right? And that's just it worked. So, but with the FE block, that was a real issue, because you had like a 10 or 11 grand top end, and you had like a 8,509 on the bottom end. So it was really a mismatch, But the Cleveland, I mean, you could zing it to God knows what, and it seemed to live, I mean, when you're doing this 2 and 3 times a week, you're going to break stuff. I mean,
yeah.
We would always, whenever we were come home from the track, we would always put the car up in the air, take the oil pan off of it, check the bearings, then go take the valve covers off of it, check the valve springs, check all that stuff. If it had enough runs, we'd go ahead and change the valve springs. Every 2 weeks, I don't care what we were racing, every 2 weeks you took the heads off of it and had them redone. I mean, Larry Ladd was my cylinder head guy, still in business today.
Okay.
Nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, but he's got super knowledge, and it's like Bill Coleman, who's done my machine work forever. He's got it all up. So I don't know what we're going to do. He's retiring. Larry's going to keep going, but this guy's got so much knowledge that I don't know what we're going to do whenever
That's what I'm saying. They're dying off. These guys that have all this knowledge, because the pro stock years from 70, 80, man, that's where all this crazy development came from.
Exactly.
People that are there, like yourself, were dying off.
That's right.
Alien guys running.
And it's, it's a shame, but these kids aren't picking it up. They don't.
No, they don't care about old stuff.
They little old four-cylinder.
Yeah.
That's what they're into.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
I remember Bill.
Like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good God.
BRC.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Almost
Got
brand.
see-through cylinder.
Piston. Isn't that crazy? The weight?
Yeah. Good God.
This is a 4-inch bore. We're gonna build a pro stock motor with this and see what it does.
How long a rod is that?
It's like 5.8 something. 5.85.
5.85. Yeah.
What it says here at the bottom. 5.855. So I don't know. I'll talk to my buddy Jimmy Huff on here. Maybe
So
him and I will do a build together.
So what's the deal with the holes in the side of it there?
Must just be just for lightning.
For lightweight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it would affect the skirt, let it flex like that, but I don't know. It's pretty beefy.
Another thing we worked with a lot was we had some dike rings at one time. Yeah. They were pretty good. Of course, we did the dike rings with the gas ports on it. So they could expand out like we could wear a cylinder out with them things. But I tell you what, everyone in today's world, today you're building an engine. You have got to, and back then too. I don't mean today only.
Yeah.
But back then, you have to get the engine to seal up. If you don't get the engine to seal up, I don't care what kind of carburetor you got, what kind of cam you got, any of that crap, you can just forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But getting it sealed up is just absolutely beyond the importance of it. I can't emphasize it. Somebody's going to build one, but you need to get the right hone on it. You need to get the right bore. If you're going to bore it, if it needs boring, you need to get it to seal up. And if you miss that boat,
there's 40 horsepower right there with poor ring seal right off the bat.
You can't do it. And I tell you, the guy who is just and I always have talked. I've had him on my show before, and that's Lake Speed Jr.
Oh yeah.
Lake Speed Jr. is a phenomenal expert on cylinder rings, piston rings, and sealing that engine up. I mean, it's just he can tell you everything that's got to be. Of course, it's an expensive deal if you do it yourself. Most people are not going to be able to afford to do it themselves. But anyway, that's just what most guys. I don't care what it is, a Chevy or a Chrysler or Ford, whatever. If you don't get it sealed up, it's done. It'll just, and you won't see, even though you think it's sealed up, you won't see the blow by that's really happening. Unlike, you're not going to see it like it's puffing out the.
No, you got to measure cylinder leakage test, or you just see in the ET card,
So you've got to. That's one key to horsepower before you get started with the rest of it. So, but that's
Now, will you fill in your blocks? I mean, those Cleveland blocks. Fill them up with cement. They flex like crazy.
Yeah, I know. My brother did with his.
Yep.
Now, my brother had a dragster, and he used a Cleveland in the dragster. And they did some filling of the block with DevCon.
Yep.
And, did it work? Nobody really knows. I mean, until it explodes. But, and we had, and I get back to a story with the valves on that part of it. Back in that time period, early 70s, the titanium valves, I believe Ford was totally out of them. But my brother, I'm going to blame it on my brother. He's not here to defend himself. So,
right. R.I.P., brother.
So anyway, he gets a call from Detroit. And this guy's got a pallet of titanium valves.
Nice.
And so Rick's going like, yeah, what are we going to do? So anyway, they negotiated a deal on him and wound up getting a whole pallet of them. And then Bud Moore, he wanted a bunch of them too, because they were running them in the Can-Am Trans Am deal. So he took some of them. So we finally ran out of them later on, but it was pretty cool. So and he's not in jail right now. So
the someone's asking me this question. I'm not sure. I don't know much about it, but it's saying, Sam, can you talk about the super modified 351 Cleveland Mustang?
Yes, that. Yeah, I'm glad he brought that up.
Thanks, Rotor 22.
Right. Good point there. I did not think of that to come up with the show. We had the Boss 429 car. Okay?
Yep.
Pulled the Boss 429 out of it, and my brother took that car and put a Cleveland engine in it, Boss Cleveland in it. Very successful. He won a number of NHRA races with it.
Okay.
And I forget what class, C modified or something of that nature.
Okay.
And what happened was he did well with it, and then somebody complained that it was a 429 Boss car and that the spring towers were incorrect.
Ah.
So he had to cut the spring towers out of it and put a stock set of spring towers in it. But thank God he was smart enough to keep the old original spring towers. So he kept those and wound up saving it, because the guy that owns it now has replaced the spring towers. In fact, I forgot the guy's name right now in Pennsylvania. He actually put those back in for him. And so quite another story on that car, but that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
So
someone was asking me this, and we talked about this kind of prior before we went on live. But Sam, what's the real deal with story on horsepower and pro stock in the 70s? Did the Cleveland have the others covered? What was the real advantage?
Well, the real advantage was obviously was the cylinder heads.
Thank you.
That's
the origin of pro stock cylinder heads, according to Darren Morgan.
That was the advantage.
Yep.
There's no other way to put it. But that's definitely was the cylinder heads.
Let's see. Here's we're talking about Lake Speed. Great guy, yes sir.
Yeah.
Here's a guy here that you might not know him, but he's a Hemi guy, Mopar guy, and his name is Ronnie Kirkpatrick, and he's a body man, and he now owns Nostalgia Pro Stock Association. You'll see him on Facebook.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I heard.
So he owns that organization, and he's a body guy that's done a lot of famous painting for motorcycles, $1 million cars. He does great work. So I'm going to get him on too. I think we're going to talk about some stuff, some Hemi stuff, because pro stock is not just Fords, and that's what I'm trying to bring in everybody. So we all tell our story.
Yeah, there's see, we had Chrysler Hemi. Chick Denino was my fab guy, not my fab guy, but he was on the other half of the shop. We actually had Fords on one side, and we were sponsored with Mopar on the other side of the place. So I built the engines with the Hemi also.
Okay.
So I did the drive line and the rear end and the engine for the Hemi.
Did you work with Carlton at all, or race Don Carlton?
Carlton used to, Sox and them hired him to race. He was with Sox and Martin primarily. And of course, Denino went to work with for Sox and Martin about 1970-ish, 71,
Okay.
right in that range. Yeah. So we had the speed shop at that time, and that was the basically whenever Chick went to Sox and Martin in North Carolina, then he got out of the speed shop. We were partners on the speed shop, and so he got out of that and went on down there and worked for Ronnie and Buddy. You know, I still occasionally talk to Buddy, and he's getting along okay.
Another guy, another word on Ronnie Kirkpatrick. He's restoring right now Roy Hill's Petty Duster.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, he raced pro stock. You probably remember that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know Roy.
He had a Duster built by Petty Enterprises.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I remember that.
He's restoring that. It looks wicked.
Yeah.
But you know what? That thing had nitrous in it. He found nitrous lines in it.
Hard to believe that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. See?
Never. We'll deny that till doomsday. You know. No, Roy.
He's putting it back in. Check it out.
I'm gonna have Roy. Probably a few weeks. I'll have him on the show.
Oh, that'd be cool. I
And
like
nitrous system. Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah.
Here's one for you, Sam. It's 8 a.m. here in Perth, Western Australia.
Oh my God.
And I'm meant to be at work. Don't tell the boss, me. Don't worry about it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and listening.
I have a lot of fans from Australia because of Cleveland, they stopped it in 74, but
yeah,
producing it until like 81 or 82 and down under. So it's wicked there.
What was the car that I think Mercury produced it in Australia? And
XW Falcons. They did a lot of
it was,
Falcons.
yeah, but they're bringing tremendous amount of money.
Here's one for you. Did you have lots of push rod flex issues with your Cleveland?
Well, we used as big a push rod as we could get.
How big?
We didn't have 3/8.
3/8 or bigger?
Yeah, no, 3/8. I don't think we used anything bigger than 3/8. Maybe 7/8. I mean 7/16. But no, it's that's probably 3/8 is probably what we used.
Okay.
The problem with push rod flex, which is a lot like rocker arm flex, you got to be able to see it first. So that's the tough part about figuring out, did it really flex or am I just thinking that?
And I'll throw out this for you, Jimmy Huff, and the other guys here. And I was telling you before, Sam, that I just was talking with actually Alan Root this morning.
Yeah.
And Larry Olson. Now, Larry Olson did all the head work for Grumpy.
Yeah.
The DRCE did all Warren Johnson's head work. So I'm going to have him back on to do a little talk on rocker arm flex and rocker arm geometry.
Yeah.
How you can pick a lot of horsepower up when you know how to work the rocker arms.
Yeah.
Mystery and black art.
Well, that's it's like everything. You take a little of this, a little of that, and you put it all together. You have something.
Cross your fingers.
Right. Exactly. So that's just basically in any kind of engine, if you can get all the flex and the stretching and the all that good stuff out of it, you just have to work at it. That's all. It's trial and error. I think I told you probably Don Nicholson would use the shop occasionally, and he'd come in, take the engine apart, and I'd have my head stuck in there looking and see what. Really didn't see anything any different. It really was, it's just a matter of putting it together and doing it right and sealing it up, so. But I of course, talking about push rod flex, I remember him taking a push rod and rolling it on the bench and hitting it with a hammer and whacking it,
To straighten it?
Straighten it right up, So,
good to go.
yeah, good to go, So those guys did that. You know.
There he is, man.
There he is. I tell you, he was fantastic. He really was. You know.
I got this book. I'm still trying to read it. I haven't finished yet. I'm a slow reader, so.
Nice guy. I mean, really, and a great, a great competitor, a great, somebody always willing to give you 5 cents worth of his time to suggest, make this, make that, do that. So, he was just one of those guys that. Unfortunately, he left too soon.
Oh yeah.
But, it's just, I was there tonight. In fact, I think it was the Cars Magazine meet where he had that Cammer and the supercharged funny car, nitro car.
Yep.
And that piece of that supercharger came right by his head. I mean, you could see it in the windshield, and you're going like, I believe that's the last time he drove one.
That's why he stopped racing it. He stopped and got.
Oh, he said, I don't blame him. I mean, you're just looking for one of those times that's going to get you right dead center. You can't do it. These guys are crazy. Running.
We're talking about this. I got to get a microphone like you, Sam.
Right.
Actually, Kim, I already got one. It's been in the house. It kind of looks like that, but I'm too lazy to hook it up. But I think it'll be beneficial.
Yeah. Well, it's a little tough because this one is so sensitive. I mean, it's terribly sensitive, which I guess is okay because I'll move around. I'll do all kinds of stuff that can't.
It's like this is like a whole different medium. We were talking about this before. It's like watching TV. People are talking about that here on the side in the comments. I don't think you can see the comments.
No, I
on the
cannot.
screen. But it's like a little family and people talking about this, that, and the other thing. And I don't know. It's just the new. I haven't watched TV in 13 years, but I'll watch these live chats.
Right. Yeah.
Here and there and catch up on them when I can. It's good news to hear the stories.
Yeah. Well, they get going among themselves, and they, it's you learn something there every once in a while.
Now, those Clevelands are obviously stick cars. What, running a Lenco?
I always ran a Lenco, and I did that, and I had the car built for both transmissions, a 5-speed and a Lenco.
You mean Doug Nash? Is that what you're talking about?
Doug Nash, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone's probably heard this story, but my dad actually was instrumental in the getting the Doug Nash 5-speed transmission produced.
Okay.
And Jim Kerr had come into our speed shop, and we were a dealer for Doug Nash gears, and we were a dealer where Doug would cut the synchronizer ring off of there. And go ahead.
Well, we have an audience now. They want to come in.
Oh, okay. Come on in. Yeah.
All right, don't
You got
knock
a
that over.
question for me?
Did you bring ice cream back?
Hey, everybody. There we go.
No, we didn't.
You did? Did you get your ice cream?
Yeah,
Did you get your ice cream?
They brought me a slushie, but no ice cream. Sorry.
know
But, okay.
I'm gonna mess with her head.
Okay.
It's
So, everyone says hi.
Oh,
So sorry, Sam. We're just gonna. Everything's good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you just push the bottom button.
Okay. Did you take care of Zeus?
No.
right.
We don't want. I don't know in my work area.
Okay.
Don't forget to hit the like button.
Yes. Thank you. Hit the like button, guys.
Like button.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the subscribe.
There you go.
Subscribe.
Okay.
Subscribe if you
He's good.
if you like.
Nice.
Who's that?
That's Warren Johnson. All right. We're gonna keep going doing this conversation. So.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See you later. Oh gosh, remind me of my kids when they were little.
Oh my God.
Not
It's
little
great.
anymore. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, Doug Nash.
Yep.
Jim Kerr was a parts rep for Doug Nash, and Doug was cutting the synchro ring, softening the gear, cut the synchro ring off of it, put a dog gear on there,
Yep.
and we would sell them in the store. Ford, Chevy, Mopar, okay, the 3 pieces, 4 pieces. And so we'd sell those. And anyway, Jim Kerr comes by one day, and Jim says, Doug has a 5-speed transmission. He said he has it on paper, and he has it all made out. Everything is there, what the machine is to make that with, all that stuff. So, but Doug has been trying to get money to make it, to build it. His dad works for Ford, and they won't give him any money. And the bank said he wouldn't give him any money. He's 6 months behind in his bills. So he comes out, and I said, well, how much money does he need? And Jim said he needs $72,000. $72,000 at that time, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2 days later, we were on an airplane. We were going to Detroit. So we get there in Detroit, and Doug picks us up, and we go to the shop. The shop's immaculate, everything's beautiful. Then we go to his house, and Doug says, I don't have any collateral other than my trains, and my trains in my house. And my dad says, well, I'm not in the train business. I don't want a train. And he says, and as far as your house goes, I'm not gonna deal with that. But he says, I will do a handshake on it, and I'll give you the $72,000, and I'll write you a contract. I'll send it to you.
Wow.
So anyway, that's how the 5-speed became in the real world. So there was a lot of trials, tribulations to getting it manufactured, but it was quite a story. And Doug became very successful after that, and he paid all of it back.
Wow.
Hell of a story. And,
It is a great story.
It's only in America, can that happen? So, yeah. So
At least it was. I don't know about now. I can't comment.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
But,
Better not go there. So, but anyway.
well, someone's just mentioning here that they made the Cleveland until '93. I didn't know that.
Is that right?
That's what he says.
Oh, okay.
The
All
Bronco
right.
with the Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Australian Falcon GT XY GTHO, known as a shaker, which I think Al Turner made that up, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right. And Al was talking when we were in Carlisle. Al was talking about that for car and how much money they were bringing. And Al went over there, and I think he was there 4 or 5 years. In fact,
I knew it.
Made to 83.
Yeah, I was
My
like,
typo.
I was pretty sure it was 82-ish, but yep, okay.
Well,
now
that's
we're
close
back to the
enough.
game.
What's 10 years?
Yeah, I know. Let's see this. Hey, you're right. Thank you, Greg, for coming in. Better late than never. We're just getting warmed up. 1 hour and 13 minutes. Here's a guy that's got a Boss 4029, Lot Burns. I think he's in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Or one of the countries over there, and he has a Boss 429. It must be bad on the Autobahn, man.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So,
And let me mention another vehicle we built, and this could only be done by a family member. My middle brother Rick, he had race cars too.
okay.
So my youngest brother that helped me all the time. In fact, he's the one with the long hair on the Pinto picture at the track there. He used to always help me. So he didn't have any cars of his own. So our mother comes to me and says, it'd be great if Bobby had a car, with some horsepower in it. I'm like, I said, oh my God, I said, if you knew how he drives, I said, you wouldn't want to say that. I said, he's wild. Oh yeah, but he needs a car, So anyway, he had a Pinto wagon, and we put a Cleveland in a Pinto wagon.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
Toughest job I ever done in my life. We had to take the cast iron manifolds, have a machine so the outlets turned in. We had a
Oh yeah.
machine down like that. It was unreal. So, I mean, it was so tight fit in that car. And then he said, "Well, I'm going to Florida," and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "I can't believe you take that car to Florida." And he did. He took it on to Florida. So it's still around. I don't know whatever happened to it, but God, crazy. We did some crazy times, DragBoss.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sam and I were talking about that,
Yeah,
how kids are and how important they are in our lives, and how we want to teach them the right things to do so they become good people when they grow up and not
exactly.
craziness.
And the funny thing is, actually my granddaughter, Kirsten, who actually back at Father's Day, her and her husband took me Father's Day to a restaurant for lunch,
Yeah.
and separately. And so she and I was telling, I don't know how I got on some story. I don't recall what the story was, but anyway, I get telling some story, and she says, after I was finished, she says, Granddaddy, I said, I want to come over there to your house, and I want you to tell me all these things that you did, while you were whatever. So, yeah, I'm like, what happened to my other two kids? They don't even want to.
Funny.
You could ask about one of them or something, but that's the way it is. That's all.
Well, I'm trying to figure out who's going to do what. If they're still
Yeah,
interested.
you can't figure it out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't force them into it if they like hot rods and race
That's
fuel.
right.
And
You
rocks
can't do none of that, So
I was
whatever
wrong.
they grow up to be is what they be, So
I was wrong about that guy. It's his. He's not in Germany. He's in Newburgh, New York.
oh,
It's kind of near Germany.
that's close. Downtown New York.
Oh my God, that's good.
So,
Yeah, you were right, Sam. Al Turner introduced the production of the Falcon GTHO, the greatest muscle car ever built.
that's the
R.I.P.
car.
Al.
I think in 2018 or 19, I think one of those cars brought.
Oh yeah, $2
I'm
million.
probably wrong. It's something crazy money.
Yeah, like $5 million or something, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed, and it happened to be one of them that was at Carlton. The car was sitting down about 5 of them from us. That I looked at it. I didn't. I looked at it. I'm going like, well, okay. I don't see anything exciting here, but maybe it is. That's it's to whoever wants to make them happy with it. That's all that counts.
So with these Clevelands that you're running, we'll just stick with the iron block.
Yeah.
So what are you running for head gaskets? Just whatever was out there, Ford, Felpro?
We ran the Felpro.
Okay.
The Pro Felpro on there, and that was, we never had any problem with them, with blowing gaskets or anything. But yeah, it worked fine on there.
What were they for compression? 12.5 roughly?
Well, no, we tried to get it up to around 13, as much as we could.
Right.
I do believe we were around 13 and a quarter, something like
Okay.
that on there. And there again, they're the type of engine that the more compression you put into it, the
Cam and
more horsepower to take care of. That's all. I mean, it works, so that's one of the greatest things about them. But the engine, I really loved the engine. We had enough cubic inches because you couldn't run any more than what we had. But that turned out, we ran, against small block Chevys and
oh yeah,
and then whatever I don't recall, the Mopar ran 340s or whatever they were. I don't even remember any of them running. Maybe there was, but
What oil did you run in them things? Like for 50 weight straight?
we
50?
ran 40 and
40
50.
weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we boosted the oil pressure out of sight.
Yep.
We shimmed the springs.
Okay.
And I really got that from the FE engines. Even though they had side oilers,
Yep.
you needed really to. I had some of them where I didn't even use a shim. They were solid because they got the rear spring in the rear of the block on the side oiler.
Yep. I know what you mean.
But I jammed them to where it didn't even work. So because you got to remember the oil pump's in the front, and it's still got to hit the rear main, you know. So and that at that time, Ford was saying that at $7,000 there was only 20-pound oil pressure back on the rear main. So
yeah,
scary, you know. But some of that stuff you don't need to know. But it was tough, you know. But that's the way we really jacked the oil pressure up, and then warm it up good because you know you could not get enough. You know, a drag engine, it's got to be the most brutal thing there is to operate and keep it together because of the RPMs and all.
Right.
And because of the up and the down. We don't have a smooth level like NASCAR that's running 1,500 RPM.
30 pounds of oil.
Yeah. That's another amazing thing. I spoke to or heard
Lake Speed
talk about it now. And they flood the valve train with oil because to make the springs.
And those washers, those pressure sprayers. All
they got the sprayers on,
yeah.
And they need it. But that's the same story though. You got to have put enough spring pressure, oil pressure in these things to if you're going to run that kind of RPM, you just can't. It won't live otherwise on there. So fun motor. I enjoyed running it. You know, and my brother had a very good success with it in the dragster and in the Boss 429 body. So he was very successful with that. So,
it's funny someone noticed that, you know, and go complain about that.
I know that somebody had to, you know, that's, you know, no, they wouldn't actually know just walking up to the car, but hey, anything to get over in the competition.
I'm telling you, it was cutthroat back then.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm finding out.
And you know, it's still the same way. It doesn't change. You know, you might think it has, but it hasn't.
When you, let's say you're going to go racing, like at least with my Cleveland, I mean, I start that thing up, I get to the temperature of 140, I just shut it off and let it heat sink.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really run well until they're about 160. That, you know, the kind of little rough idling.
Yeah.
How did these things run back then? Would these things warm up on their own and idle by themselves? Were they?
They would warm up quickly because we ran very small radiators.
Yeah.
So they would come up to temperature real quick, and that was the one thing with the aluminum block. That's another issue. The aluminum block needed to be hotter than the steel block to make any horsepower.
True.
You could not run it, you know, cold. But so in the end, the steel block, you still had to get the temperature up 180, 200 or more. As long as you got to the end of the track and it was 210, 220, that's, you know, it would make horsepower. So, but like any engine, you still need heat to make horsepower. You know, so I was trying to think of another issue, and it escapes my mind at this second.
With the Cleveland, you mean?
With the Cleveland, yeah, on there.
So you're using the regular guide plates and stud girdles and all that to control the valve train.
Yeah.
Valve, rock
We did.
guard.
Oh, I know what it was. We had a set of heads that turned out to be good. I had bought a set of heads. We were in a fix for a set of heads, and I called Roush, and he had a set ready to go that he just
Of course.
ran, and they made all this horsepower, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
Yep.
just get them to me, So anyway, we get the heads, and this engine won't fall out of a tree. I mean, this thing was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it was awful. And so after 2 weeks, I went and took the heads back off, took the heads over to Larry Ladd. I said, Larry, do whatever you got to do with these things. There's something wrong with them. And so he did. He worked on them. I guess he must have worked day and night for 2 or 3 days to get them finished and ready. But when he got through, he said, man, these things got so many issues. I said, and he said, and they were actually, they had angled the valve a little bit more. It still kept the guides, stock type guides,
Yep.
but they had drilled them off center, and the valve was a little canted. How much that helped, I don't really know. But anyway, we wound up when we got them back from there, the horsepower was really fixed. They were producing horsepower then. I mean, they were really, really good. And of course, I don't know if Jack ran them or rather Wayne Gap ran them or what, but
Okay.
at least we got them and we were able to fix them. But gosh, I don't need any more like that. But it's
Wow.
killing you. Wouldn't run.
There's a guy, like I can't, his name escapes me now. Denny Wyandorf. Now he's an old super stock racer from back in the day. He has a '70 Mustang fastback and raced to Cleveland for a long time.
Right.
But he's from Michigan, and he was telling me going to Jack Roush's, and Jack maybe someday will hear this or tune in. But Jack, he didn't play around. I mean, he was there to make money, and
Oh yeah.
he got top dollar for his stuff. You wanted to go down there, the stuff was on the shelf, high port heads, intake.
Yeah. Yeah.
He bought a couple XE Cleveland box, I think he told me from the guy, and stories abound in those race shops back then. and you never knew. He said he was standing there. I forgot, some other famous racer came in. It was like nothing back then.
Yeah. Jack, geez, I wish I'd have talked to Bruce Sizemore before we got on the show here. But I've got a great story about all that.
We're going to have to hold that if we can't talk.
We're going to have to hold that one. I mean, they're all still alive, so I can't say nothing.
We could get Bruce on here. All three of us could be on here and talk about it.
Yeah, well, that would be, if he's willing to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But he can. He floored me when he told the story, and so it was really a great story. I just don't want to do it without him.
No, I understand.
Because I still call Jack and get passes for Dover, so he gets me in that way with Dover. And
maybe you can help me get him on here, and we can hear what his story is.
Oh, he's tough to get pinned down. I've had him on the show, but
okay.
He's tough to get time. It's just you probably never get him on camera. It'd probably just be by phone.
Hey, that's fine. It'll be fun just talking to him about stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of the fun casts.
Yeah, and we've known him all his life, or all racing life, put it that way. So, in fact, I was really, I don't even know what the hell got into me, but 4 or 5 months ago, I texted Jack and I said, Jack, you got any old cup cars laying around, And he says, I'll have a guy get in touch with you. I thought, oh God, okay, what have I got myself into now? So anyway, the hell of a nice guy calls me up. He said, I'll send you a picture of a few of them. He said, we got them sitting over here. He says, they're taking up space here. And in fact, they had a huge auction last month. Yeah, last month they had a huge auction and sold all these cars. There was about 12 or 13 cars in various states. And the one I was looking at was 90% complete, except one of them did have an engine. But you can pick those engines up dirt cheap, So anyway, I got down to doing that, and these powers to be puts a squash on that. So what the hell are you going to do with that? Oh yeah, okay, leave me alone. I'll figure it out. So
Now, one thing that you told me I thought was quite comical was that you had, I think your best Cleveland had 4 different pistons in it, didn't it?
yes, it did.
Tell me that story.
We had a deal. We ran, like I said before. I think I said we ran, two times a week, maybe 3 times a week, and so when you exploded something, or you needed to redo something, so we got in a pinch and we gathered up every piston we had, and we had 4 different pistons in this engine now. Did not balance it. And put it all together, put some gas ports in it,
Yep.
and put it together. And we thought, well, God, let's just hope this thing hangs together, or it runs halfway decent. We put that together, got 4 different pistons in it, and it was the fastest engine we ever had in the car.
Wow.
I figured this one out. I said, all that technology, and the damn thing runs faster than it ever ran, So
This goes to show you,
it goes to show, you look at it and you go like, what am I doing all that work for? And when the damn thing just runs just as well, So, yeah, it's wild,
Now, what were they running? Like 30-inch? How 32-inch tires? How big were the tires back then?
We ran those tires.
14, 30
big
or
ass
whatever.
tires on there. They were about, I think they were 13 and a half wide and 32
Yep.
tall.
Yep.
And yeah, so it had a lot. We run 543 gears all the time. Never changed the gear, So we stuck with that kind of gear ratio in it. But the Lenco we had that other ratio with that we could change around some too. But the Lenco was just, that's what we ran. I mean, you just,
Yep.
It was so iffy running a 5-speed or a 4-speed, whatever you want to run it, that's shifting manually. It was just too much to try and make that work like that. So I just stuck with the Lenco. Lencos then I think were what the heck were they? About $4,500 Lenco.
Wow.
Yeah, 45. But at that time you'd say, well, damn, it's worth it. I mean, we didn't bend valves or anything with that, so it worked out.
So that's what you need. You get that, rock steady part. You don't have to worry about maintenance on it and have it break at the track.
Exactly. Yeah, and they were bulletproof. I mean, you really, did they take a little more horsepower to run? Yeah, it took a little more horsepower, but it was well worth it. So. Got anything else on there?
Let's see. So this is a great thing, because you know what? I do have great guests, and I appreciate, Sam, you taking the time to come on here on DragBoss Garage and give me your history, and talk about the days and what it was like, to go out and fire up that car, that little radiator.
Well, you got to remember back then we did run 2 and 3 times a week.
Yep.
And I started out with these guys. I was very young compared to the other guys. I mean, the Sox and Jenkins, they were all older than I was. And I was intimidated by them, and
oh, hell yeah.
It's, you grow up, starting out with these type of guys that all these people admired, and fans and everything, and the fan base huge, and whenever I came along, I'm going like, man, this is brutal, and I just sort of worked my way into it because I'd always wanted to do that. I always wanted to race. I always wanted to when I was just a kid in elementary school, teachers say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a race car driver. So put my hand up. Hey, that's me, And so by getting there and just having that desire, the I want to do it, I got to have it. It was strictly just my willpower to keep going. And then I fell into an AFX car, a car that was a professional car built by Mercury. And then we went to a 75 or 65. And all this thing evolved. And for me to be in the center of it, it was just, a dream. And then to win, that's the ultimate, with being with those guys and against those guys, it was the ultimate deal for me. I mean, and I couldn't even tell someone how it was to win like that, and to call Ford Motor Company and Sunday night and say, hey, look what I did, so it was fantastic, and we and unlike the Chevy teams and the Mopar teams, they ran a tight knit operation. The Ford guys, we were always battling each other. I mean, we didn't want that. We didn't want the other guy to get anything better than you were getting, and we were kept it in check, like the intake manifold that Edelbrock made for us,
Okay. Yep.
You keep hitting it, and you just can't give up, and you got to keep in there, and no matter you're the kid against the big ones, and you got to put that out of your mind and go for the win, and don't say you can't do it.
Right.
I think if you look at some of the NHRA kids doing pro stock now, obviously they have some sort of I know I can do it type thing. So, but I was the same way. I lived it. I breathed it. Whenever I first started out, I worked downtown DC at a Pontiac dealer, and I drove. We had a garage that Moyer Lincoln Mercury loaned us to use in Frederick, Maryland, and I would go there at night, and we're talking about all the way from Frederick to DC is about 45 minutes an hour.
Yeah.
When there's no traffic. So there were nights whenever I left the garage, I could see the sun was coming up, and I'm heading for Washington D.C. To the Pontiac dealer, and so it was just a life you lived, and you loved it, even though it may appear now like you were crazy, but you just loved the situation, and we lived it, and I wouldn't do it any other way. I wouldn't have done it different. You know, uh, Probably wouldn't have lightened up as much, but I would still, I still, I love the sport. I love NASCAR. I don't have any. Um, I talked to my dad one time. I said, maybe we should, go into NASCAR, and maybe it'd be more money, or whatever. He said. Then he says, "Listen, you guys tear up enough. You know what?
Yep.
We can get in the car, fenders on it too. So it was. That's just the way it was. But yeah, we had a great time. I
I mean,
destroyed that. Talk about a heartbreak. I was going to Indianapolis in '64 when we got the car. When I came across the car, and we were going to Indianapolis, and the trailer wasn't towing good, and all we had was a piece of junk trailer. I mean, we started out with nothing. I mean, my dad gave us a utility body F100.
wow.
It's part of a truck,
Yeah. Got a
And
cab.
then we had this trailer that had no springs, and every wheel was going a different direction. So anyway, we tried to go down the turnpike, and the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and that didn't work. So we got off on 40. We're going down 40, and we're approaching Cambridge, Ohio,
Yep.
and we are doing fine, poking along 40 mile an hour, and this car came out of nowhere, passed us on the left, and just pancaked us because there was a semi coming the other way, and the semi. There was like a McDonald's. It wasn't a McDonald's, but it's like McDonald's across the street. A
Right.
cemetery on the right, and McDonald's on the left.
Oh, nice.
2 lane, Route 40 was 2 lanes at that time. So
Yeah.
anyway, there was a long behind me, a long ways back, was a car carrier, and so there was nothing in between me and the car carrier, but this truck came along, or this car came along, passed the car carrier, came up, hit me, and broadsided me. And there was a lady and her two kids crossing the street on the right, and hit me. And I thought the trailer had hit them. I didn't even think anything any different. I said, trailer's got to have done it. So the trailer misses them, but hits an embankment, a culvert.
Yeah, man.
And that thing flipped in the air. The trailer flipped in the air so high that it took a corner off of the billboard sign out there. Crazy. But anyway, destroyed it. Well, we fixed the car. We can get on with that story because everybody's wondering if it totaled the car.
Yeah.
But, no, it rolled. It had severe damage to it.
Sure.
But Turner sent us the front end, and and I had a body guy that I worked with, and I had him come over and fix the roof and the quarter panel and all the other crap. So it was. But I have all the pictures of it. Sort of. Still, it was a nightmare, really. But we all survived it. And I don't know what for some reason, we went on to Indianapolis. I have no idea why. We left the car, and the trailer, took the trailer and told them to scrap it. And we rented a U-Haul.
We don't want to miss Indy. Come on now.
Yeah, I know. We went on to Indy. I don't know what the hell we were doing. I do remember that part of it, but it's just one of those things that you'd never think happened to you. That's just,
Sure.
and bam. So, but we got it fixed to race another day.
It's funny when you look at your life because there's not a lot of guys that I really know that were really Ford factory backed racers.
Right. Yeah.
Like Glidden said that Ford didn't do hardly anything for him.
Yeah.
Nicholson said the same thing, so to speak.
Yeah.
What made you get more stuff than them? Or how
I don't think we
favor you?
I don't think we did. I think we made better use of what we had. I think when you're getting engine parts over and over, you sort of just take it for granted, and then you abuse that situation. You do stupid things because you don't care because you got another one sitting over there. So that's the and I knew guys that were getting cameras every month. I mean, they'd get another one. Didn't need it, but they got another one.
Really?
But yeah, and that's and Ford had certain people that they really
They liked.
took care. They liked, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was the guy that they liked, then you could get away with other stuff. But I never abused it. I never got stuff that I stuck back on the shelf, And the crying shame about some of this stuff was because I still remember Ford sold these valves over the counter, sodium valves, and they sold them, and the hollow stump valves.
Yep.
And I still remember Ford saying to me, he said, "Don't never use one of those valves that have SP on there.
Sodium phosphate.
Always, it's got to be a double SP." And I thought, my God, how many of these people bought these things over the counter? They don't know any different.
Right.
I mean, they would drop a valve. I mean, you could guarantee it was going to drop a valve.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever we okay, we'll get double SP valves, never had a problem with a valve. Never. And so it was a shame that the guy didn't have any money and wound up with a piece of junk, but that's the way it was. So.
Here's a question here. This is kind of interesting because I've always wondered this myself. For Sam, quick question for Sam. At the same time that Pro Stock downsized to Pinos and Vegas, Krager introduced the super light wheels. Did they make any significant difference in weights compared to the motor wheel that Glidden used?
Yeah.
Ross was a motor wheel.
None of them really wound up being any significant. You didn't. You didn't pick up a 10th wheel. It might be something you like, the pretty or something, or polished. We took and polished the Kragers we had, but that was a major project.
I mean, all your cars were what, red, white, and blue?
Yeah, all the ones early on they weren't red, white, and blue, but
choice or was it Ford's choice?
No, it was my choice.
Okay,
our choice. Yeah.
I love that 69 with the red and a different color front end.
Yeah, we did most of the cars that way. We had it would flip flop, and we would flip flop. The two Mavericks were actually flip flop. They were blue on one side, blue, white, and red up top, and then the other side was red, white, and blue. So
like that one right there.
It was cool. Yeah, yep. That's the one that's still alive. That is in Wisconsin.
Okay.
The body is there. Okay.
Got it.
I don't think anything else on it is really they cut the floor pan out. So
now what's that? Maverick?
Maverick, yeah.
Okay.
And that's the same. That's the sister car. That's a 71.
Now that car, I think Ronnie Kirkpatrick commented on here that's in Pennsylvania, not far from his house.
That is in Pennsylvania. Yes.
Yep.
I'm not going to comment on it either.
Okay. I don't know much about it, but I see
Yeah.
them say that.
The guy has had it for 10, 12 years or so.
Yep.
He ain't never done nothing with it.
You know what? That's what kills me. I see these race cars sitting in collections and all that. It's like, what the hell? Let them. They're doing nothing. Get them things out and fire them up, man. Let them run.
I had a lot of that particular car. A lot of guys that wanted to buy it. They would call me
Yep.
about buying it, and I would go like, "Okay, well, here's the guy's number. Good luck." And the guy he's never gotten it anywhere close to being done. So, and that was a situation where I had gone up and ID'd the car. The guy called me or come by in Carlisle one day, and he says, I think I know where your 71 Mustang is." I said, "Well, okay. Well, give me a call. Let me know where it is." So he called me and told me where it was. And I said, well, and I called the guy. And the guy said, "Oh, yeah, it's sitting here in my garage. It's got all these boxes on top of it." And he says, you want to come up and look at it? You can look at it. He says, "The thing never would." He said it never would get any traction or anything. I don't know what he was talking about. But anyway, so he said, "Well, I don't, you know." I said, "Okay, well, I'll come up there." And I came up there, ID'd the car. And I said, "Well, I'll send a rollback up here and pick it up."
Yep.
And at first, I really didn't think it was the car. But after I got there and looked at it, I said, "Oh, yeah, it's the car." So anyway, I get back home, and this guy calls me and says, he said, "I sold the car to somebody." I said, "You did what?" I said, "What do you mean you sold the car to somebody?" Yeah, this guy came along and I sold it to him. And so anyway, car's gone. I call the guy, and he avoids me, of course. And so I said, "Well, I'll wait him out because he's going to have to get a hold of me." So sure enough, about 30 days later, he calls me and says, he said, "Can you help me?" I said, "What do you mean help you?" I said, You've already helped me enough because you took this car out from under me."
Right.
So anyway, he said, "Well, if I do this or if I do that, can I count on you to give it its blessing? Say it is your car, you know?" And I said, "Okay." So I said, "Well, here's the deal." I said, "If you got a camera," and he says, "Oh yeah, my uncle's got a camera. He left off. My uncle's got a camera parts. He left that part off, you know." So then he says, I said, "Well, I think in the condition that car is in," I said, 16 months, you should be able to restore that car." He said, "Oh yeah, I can do it in 16 months. So then I said, "Do you have the money to do it?" He said, "Oh yeah, I got the money to do it." So the end story here is he didn't have the money for none of it. You know? He didn't have the engine. He didn't have none of that stuff. So anyway, I went by his house a few times. He's right south of Philadelphia, and I went by there a few times. And the car was he had a 2-car garage that really was a 1-car garage.
Yep.
And he had I knew when I looked in there, he had a Ford Talladega in 1,000 pieces sitting next to it. And I said, "Oh, this doesn't look good." I said, "I don't think he's going to get this car done." So sure enough, he's never got it done. He doesn't have an engine.
Sad, you know.
It's sad, you know. And his brother come up to me one day and he said, "Well, the guy works for UPS." So his brother comes up to me one day at Carlisle and says, "You know that that car had a 429 in it." I said, "No." I said, "That car never had a 429 in it. it had a camera in it its whole life. No, I know, I seen it in there. I said, wait, who the hell are you talking to? So anyway, that's it's just
We're getting down to about 2 hours, and I figure we'll stop at 2 hours.
oh
That's
yeah,
about 6
gosh,
minutes.
wow,
This is a good question because I've never really asked you about this.
okay.
But what are your thoughts on just the 385 series engines themselves, 460, that kind of stuff? 429.
Too heavy.
Okay.
Too heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, it just.
They are big. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's we always call them boat anchors, but yeah, it just when you're talking about a Boss and you can do an aluminum top on it, I mean that's one thing, but if you're talking about steel heads and steel block, and
Yeah,
all,
I know.
that,
The reason he asked that is he has a 68 T-Bird, and I'm going to make a video on that. It's got a 521 cubic inch big block Ford with some, actually, I think they're Pro Comp heads, but he showed me a video. And that
what
thing,
year is it?
It's a 68 T-Bird.
68 T.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll make a video and you can.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I always like those old T-Birds. What was your favorite? Someone was asking this. Craig Tuck asked, what was your favorite car?
Of my race cars?
Yeah, I'd say.
But it would have to be my 69 Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be, that car receives so much
Press.
PR work, that
PR
deal that it's hard to believe. But it just everywhere you turn, and that car still was in one of the last magazines that CarCraft made in 2018, I believe it was.
Wow.
And they did a 5-page spread on that car in 2018. And who does that with a racer that old,
Right.
including me, And then before we get off here, I do have my TV deal that's coming up.
Okay.
It's going to be on West Virginia Public TV first, and they're working on Maryland Public TV, and I think Pennsylvania Public TV.
Nice.
So they came about a year ago. I do have two antique and collectible stores, booths, and one in Hagerstown, Maryland, one in Frederick, Maryland. But I was in Frederick, Maryland one day, and I never go there in any particular time. But I was there, and this gentleman comes in, and two guys. Well, one guy I recognized, the other guy I didn't recognize. And so anyway, the one guy that I recognized says, I think this guy wants to meet you. Well, he was down 2 or 3 booths or something.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, come on over and meet me. So anyway, Mike Baker, president of National Arts Television Incorporated, came over to me, and he says, I'd like to interview you. And I'm thinking, like, this guy don't look like a race car person,
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, well, sure. I mean, what do you want to do? And he says, well, give me your card. He said, I'll get a hold of you soon, and I'll set up a meeting. And so anyway, I think it was a month or so later, he contacts me, and he says, I'd like to meet you over at Shepherdstown College in West Virginia. And he says, meet me over there, and we can sit down there and talk. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So anyway, go over there and sit down. And I was absolutely floored, because he started saying, like, I know your dad had a lot of involvement in this. And I'm going, like, how in the world did you know that? Like, yeah, just didn't connect, So anyway, he said, and I was there, gosh, I don't know, probably 2 hours, So anyway, I got through there, and he says, I'll be in touch with you. So I go a couple more weeks, and he calls me, emails me, and he says, "Can we meet somewhere at a racetrack?" I thought, well, the closest one to me is closed, but we can go there. I says, no problems, 75 and 80. Or there was Mason Dixon in Hagerstown. So we can do either one. So anyway, he said, well, uh, 75 and 80 is fine. He said, that'll work. So I thought, okay, well, I'll meet you there, and set up a date and a time, met him there. And that deal took another 2 or 3 hours of filming. And then I finally got an idea of like what this guy's done. He's a 7-time Emmy award-winning TV producer. I was absolutely just floored by what you want me to do. But anyway, so finally they got the finished product, and what they do is they actually put together about 15 shows, not with me,
Yep.
but with various subjects, arts, and so they put that together, and they take and sell that to the TV producers,
Yes.
TV people, and so anyway,
I definitely want to see that. You got to hook me up with a link or whatever, and I can.
yeah, I'll send you the link, and
cool.
it's really it's cool. They did a great job on that. I mean, they're professionals. I can't touch them, So,
Oh yeah.
But they just they were fantastic, So I was really I was proud of that, So
I would be too. I mean, you deserve it. You put your time in, man, and that's important.
I just it's one of those things where you thought, no, this would never happen. I mean, why would somebody do that for you? So anyway, I'm a happy camper.
That's good.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's end it now. We'll me and you'll talk after for a couple minutes.
Okay.
But let's see if we can get a hold of. We're just talking about him.
Bruce.
Yes, Bruce Sizemore.
Bruce, yeah, we
can get him on. We can do a little talk because, he's looking at a whole different end. You were the racer. He was the promoter guy, the guy that was on the other end of Ford.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It'd be great to have him.
I can lay it on him.
Oh yeah, let's do it. We'll do it for sure.
Right.
But I want to thank everybody to come and enjoy Sam Auxier Jr.'s story.
I appreciate you having me on, Tim. It's a great honor. You have really a very successful show.
Thank you.
So keep up the good work.
We will. We'll get you back. So you talk with him. We'll get you back, and we're going to have an even better show the next time.
Okay.
More in-depth stuff.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Guys, we're going to end it right now, and we'll talk to you.